All right, let's jump right in. We talk a lot about what we eat for our health, right? But what if when we eat is just as important, maybe even more so for our mental health? It's a really fascinating idea, and some new research is suggesting that our meal schedule could be this huge, overlooked factor in everything from our mood to our focus.
So that's really the core question, isn't it? Could just changing your meal times be a powerful new tool to help you feel better, to improve your mood and focus? We're going to dig into a really interesting paper on something called chrononutrition and see what the science says. Okay, so to really get this, we've got to start by looking at a kind of modern mental health puzzle. It's a specific condition that perfectly illustrates just how deeply connected our minds and our bodies truly are. And that brings us to something called atypical depression. Now look, this is super important. We're not diagnosing anyone here. We're using this as a case study, a perfect example. It's a type of depression where, yeah, your mood might lift when something good happens, but it also comes packaged with a whole bunch of really specific physical and metabolic symptoms. And this is where it gets really interesting, because this condition isn't just in your head. It leaves actual, measurable footprints on the body. We're talking about things like weight gain, something called hyperphagia, which is basically excessive eating, problems with insulin, and even higher levels of inflammation just simmering away in the body. And this is why traditional treatments sometimes fall short, because they don't always get to these deep metabolic roots. So what in the world is going on under the hood here? This is where we get to the big aha moment. We're about to uncover these three interconnected culprits that are often hiding in plain sight, just messing with our mind-body connection.
Yeah. See, it's almost never just one single thing. The research points to this vicious cycle. There are three big factors that all feed into each other, and together they create this perfect storm that can really take a toll on our mental health.
Okay, so here they are, the three hidden culprits. First up, you've got what we can call UPF addiction. These ultra-processed foods can literally hijack the reward pathways in our brain, kind of like addictive substances do. Then, that kind of diet creates metabolic mayhem. It leads to insulin resistance and this constant low-grade inflammation. And the final piece of the puzzle, the broken clock. When our eating schedules are all over the place, it just throws our internal body clocks into total chaos.
And that broken clock idea brings us to a really cool scientific term, a Zeitgeber. It's German for time giver. Now, we all know the most famous Zeitgeber, right? Sunlight. It's the main cue that sets our brain's master clock, telling us when to be awake and when to sleep. But here's the kicker. Research is showing that when we eat is just as powerful a time giver for the clocks in our other organs. Think your liver, your pancreas. So when we're eating at all these weird hours, we're basically sending them a bunch of confusing, conflicting signals.
All right, so if a broken clock is a huge part of the problem, well, how do we fix it? This is where we shift from the problem to the solution, and it's a really powerful strategy called chrononutrition. And here is the hero of our story, chrononutrition. It's a fancy word, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It's the science of eating in sync with our body's internal clocks, our natural circadian rhythms. It's all about shifting our focus from just what we eat to something just as critical, when we eat. Now, one of the most popular and honestly practical ways to do this is something called time-restricted eating, or TRE for short. And this isn't some crazy diet. It's not about counting every calorie or cutting out entire food groups. It's simply about setting up a consistent window of time each day, usually somewhere between 8 and 12 hours, and eating all of your food within that window. So let me give you a super simple example of how this could work. Let's say you pick an eating window from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's a 10-hour window. You just eat all your meals and snacks within those 10 hours. And then, for the other 14 hours, you fast. Water is totally fine, of course, but this fasting period gives your body and all those organ clocks a much-needed break to rest and repair.
Okay, so what does this actually do for our bodies and our brains? Why does this help? Let's connect this solution right back to those problems we talked about earlier and look at the real, tangible benefits of getting on a TRE schedule. Well, the result is this incredible physiological ripple effect. TRE essentially helps hit the reset button on a bunch of our internal systems. It can improve how your body handles sugar and make you more insulin sensitive. It helps dial down those inflammatory markers we mentioned. It gets your key hormones, like the stress hormone cortisol and the sleep hormone melatonin, back in sync with each other. And just by giving your eating some structure, it can really help cut down on that late-night snacking on processed foods, and in turn helps stabilize those dopamine reward pathways that got hijacked in the first place.
I mean, just look at the difference here. The contrast is pretty stark, right? On one side, you've got the chaos of a disrupted schedule, those wild glycemic swings, energy crashes, poor sleep, more inflammation, and those constant compulsive cravings. But on the other side, with an aligned pattern like TRE, you're promoting the exact opposite. Stable energy, better sleep quality because your melatonin's working properly, reduced inflammation, and this is huge, more stable reward pathways. It is a really profound shift.
And these potential gains go way beyond just mood. Think about it. Stable blood sugar can help take the edge off anxiety. Finishing your last meal a few hours before bed works with your body's natural release of melatonin, helping you sleep better. Good glucose control is also tied to better focus and executive function. And just the simple act of having a structured routine can be a powerful tool to help curb impulsive or binging behaviors.
So, what does all this mean for the future of treatment? Well, what this research is really pointing to is a more holistic, a more complete approach to mental health care, one that doesn't just ignore our fundamental biology. Okay, and this is an incredibly important point. I really need to be clear about this. TRE is seen as a low-risk, complementary strategy. That means it's a tool you can add to your toolkit. It is not a replacement for professional psychiatric care, for therapy, or for any medication your doctor has prescribed. You should always talk to a professional before making any big changes. You know, I want to leave you with this powerful quote that comes directly from the paper we've been discussing. I think it just sums everything up perfectly. It says, "The growing body of evidence suggests that meal timing and diet quality are integral and often overlooked components of comprehensive psychiatric care. It's about time we stop overlooking them, don't you think?" And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a world that feels full of really complex problems, isn't it kind of exciting to think that something so simple, so fundamental as when you eat could be a powerful new tool for your own mental wellness toolkit?